We now have less than 1 month left in the NBA season. Damn, that flew by quick, and it's time to start talking about some NBA awards and where else to start than the MVP. Really, there's only two candidates. There's Nikola Jokic and there's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, Jokic going for his 4th MVP, which only 5 players throughout NBA history have done. Shai trying to capture his first MVP, currently leading the best team in the West. I mean, with how well each guy is playing, tough call here.
Before we start talking about the MVP race, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on any new videos. So basically the entire season at this point, it's been Jokic or Shai for MVP. Like Anthony Davis had that insane start. He was talked about early on. Tatum had a really good start. He was mentioned. Giannis has been so good that his name's been thrown in there. Donovan Mitchell got some love because the Cavs have been so damn good. You had other dudes like LeBron, you know. Players got mentioned, but really it's been Shai versus Jokic. Basically since the start of 2025, and rightfully so, like just two incredible individual seasons from them.
Yeah, by far the two most deserving guys. Probably will end up being a pretty close vote when it's all said and done, but let's get into the case for each player and we'll give our picks at the end. Gotta start with the Joker. Somehow he's having the best season of his career as a 3-time MVP. I mean, 29 points per game, 12.9 rebounds a game, 10.4 assists per game on 57.7% field goal shooting and a ridiculous 42.8% shooting from 3. Like just looking at those numbers, it's got a case to be the best offensive season of all time.
Yeah, let's give you some context. Third in the league in points per game. Only players higher, Shai and Giannis. Second in assists per game. Only player higher is Trey. Third in rebounds, only Kat and Sabonis are getting more rebounds. And among players who've shot at least 200 3-point attempts, dude is 8th with the best 3-point percentage as a center. Like this shouldn't be the case. Second highest PER in NBA history, only eclipsed by his 2022 MVP season. Some of the best performances for Jokic include 56, a career high against the Wizards. Also had 16 boards and 8 assists. Did weirdly lose that game. One of the just weird losses throughout this NBA season. Made up for it the next night though. 48 points, 14 boards, 8 assists, and a big win versus the Hawks. Recently, he had that 31 point, 22 assist, 21 rebound game against the Suns. Became the first player ever with a 30-20-20 game.
I mean, my God's honest reaction when I heard that was, really? He hasn't done this already? That's how desensitized we are to like these amazing statistical accomplishments this guy does. He puts up 30, 20, 20 in a game. And I was looking around like trying to find out, like, I swear to God, he's done this already.
And he almost did it previously in the season when he had 35, 22, and 17 against the Kings. Also had 46, 10, and 9 against the Spurs in early January. Multiple other 30-point triple-doubles. And you talked about it. We've kind of become numb to these stats in these games. Like, to get our Blazers mentioned in here, he had that game where he dropped 40 on us, had 25 points on 10 of 12 shooting in the first half. And like, I remember seeing that like stat line at halftime and I was like, yeah, I mean, that's what he does.
We play him 4 times a year. Like, we get to experience this a lot. Also had that ridiculous 3-pointer from the corner over DeAndre Ayton. Just like one of those like, what the fuck am I supposed to do shots? Like Ayton's right there. Jokic is like, he's not just in the corner. He's like almost behind the basket a little bit, falling out of bounds. Just rainbows it in and must have broke something in DeAndre Ayton because he hasn't played a game since then. He's been out. He might be out the entire season.
You're not wrong. The downside to us becoming numb to these insane stat lines, though, is like it's kind of hurting his MVP case. Like we're so used to him putting up these ridiculous numbers on insane efficiency that, like you said, we're like, hasn't he already done that? Or like, that's just what he does.
Yeah,
you know, like
we want more.
Right. Like prepping for this video, I was reading an article from Yahoo Sports, and they were comparing his season, asking if it's the best statistical season in NBA history, and they compared it to some great ones. 2016 Steph, 09 LeBron, 88 Jordan, even 62 Wilt. And their conclusion was this is the best statistical season ever. It's one of the best ever, and it may be the best ever. It's just insane that we're living through it. Like, what Jokic is doing is so special.
All right, so enough glazing him. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's actually going against him. Like you mentioned, kind of just the precedent he set with his prior MVP seasons. I mean, we're always asking for more. We want more. We want you to top what you've done in the past. And if you look at what Jokic has done in the past, it's like, realistically, how much better could he actually do? Also, like, the MVP, and everyone knows this, but it's not always given to the best player in the league. Like, if it was, Jordan would have probably won it every year from like 1988 till 98. Every year that he played, LeBron probably would have won it every year from like 2008 to 2016, probably.
Yeah, and then again, like 17, 18, 19. Like,
yeah, would have missed it like 1 year for Steph in 2016, and then probably would have won it in 17, 18, 19, and probably 20.
Yeah, voter fatigue in the NBA MVP voting is a real thing, and there's a precedent for it. So you kind of got to keep the precedent a little bit. So I do completely understand Mike Malone's argument, and I mostly agree with it that, like, if you put player A and you showed their stats, you put player B, you showed his stats, even if you want to include win-loss in there, basically everyone is probably picking Jokic, but you do got to factor in, if you're giving this dude another MVP, it sets a historical precedent.
Last thing for Jokic, like you said, team success. The Nuggets have been pretty good this year, 43-24, second seed in the West at the time of this recording. Jokic continues to lead teams to great records, all without another all-star on the roster. And I mean, he's had some of his stars miss time. Aaron Gordon's been out with injuries. Jamal Murray's picking it up recently, but for the first half of the year, he had been very inconsistent. And also, we all know, like, when Jokic is not on the floor, his team's terrible.
Yeah.
They drop off a cliff when he's not there.
Yeah, and the Nuggets are still 11.5 games behind the Thunder at the time of this recording, so that's a massive gap there. It's not Jokic's fault, but it's still a fact that Shai's team has been much better this season. So wrapping up the case for Jokic, he's having one of the best seasons in NBA history, maybe the best. He's basically averaging a 30-point triple-double. When it seemed like he couldn't even improve, he made his three-point ball even more deadly. So even though he already has 3 MVPs, he's had a better season this season than all those other seasons.
Now over to Shai, who's also having an all-time great statistical season. He's leading the NBA in scoring, 32.8 points a night. Second highest is Giannis at 30.5, so that's over a 2-point gap from first to second. Also chipping in 6.2 assists, 5.1 rebounds, 1.8 steals, and 1 block a game. He's the only guard in the NBA averaging at least a steal and a half and at least a block per game. Really just a testament to the two-way player that he is, and it's hard to remember the last time we had a guard playing this well on both sides the ball. Like, you'd have to go back to, like, prime Wade, Chris Paul, prime Kobe. Only ones that come to mind for me in recent times, at least.
Yeah, and that was even like 15 years ago. So, like, a lot of these star guards we see these days are recently your Stephs, your Hardens, your Dames, your Luka, average defenders, or, yeah, in Dame's case, terrible.
Yeah.
But offensively, that's where Shai makes his money, like we just mentioned. 32.8 points a night. That's impressive enough, but he's doing it on 52.5% shooting from the floor, 37.1% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. That comes out to a ridiculous 64.5% true shooting. Incredible numbers for a guard.
And SGA's offensive consistency this year, I mean, otherworldly. He's got one game where he scored less than 20. One game. And that was because they were just beating the out of the Spurs early in the season, so he only played 27 minutes. In 41 of the 64 games this year, he scored at least 30. That's almost 2/3 of the games he's played. He gives you 30 points. And what's honestly the most impressive is he's like elevated his like high volume scoring this year. Like, prior to this year, he had 13 40-point games. Like, that sounds, pretty good. He's had 11 of them so far this year. 11!
And there's still a month left.
Yes. He could have like 3 or 4 more.
Yeah. And they're 10 in one of those games, so they're winning these games when he scores a lot. And the Thunder really rely on his offensive production. Like, it's not to the point that the Nuggets do with Jokic, but the Thunder's offense obviously is way worse without Shai. They don't have a ton of creators on the team. Sure, J-Dub can create, but overall, they really rely on Shai. And he's basically the only dude on the team that consistently gets to the free throw line. Make fun of him if you want. Say he sells calls. Yeah, he kind of does. Getting to the free throw line is valuable. valuable.
Yeah.
It's one of the most efficient shots in basketball. So when you're shooting at 90%, it's a very good look to get to the line.
Yeah, and the whole like SGA is like a foul baiter and, you know, free throw merchant. Like, yes, he does foul bait and it can be annoying when you're going against him, but like the whole narrative around him is bizarrely overblown.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing people online defend like 2014 James Harden.
Stop.
Where like, as someone who lived through that, had to watch that in person, that was way worse than anything SGA is doing.
Yeah. And maybe the biggest argument going for Shai over Jokic, the Thunder just have a way better record. At the time of this recording, they're 54-12. They got a back-to-back this weekend, so that'll affect things a little bit. But they're on pace for 67 wins. That'd be tied for the 7th best record in NBA history. They're doing this in a stacked Western Conference. Like, sure, the Cavs have a better record. What the Thunder have done to me is more impressive because their strength of schedule has been just that much tougher. And while they've been so dominant, we've kind of forgotten about the fact Shai's either second or third best player, however you want to judge Chet, has not played that many games this season. At the time of this recording, Chet's only played 21 games, and even recently, J-Dub goes down with a hip injury. He still leads them into Boston, into TD Garden, and gets the win, drops 34-7. Like it's nothing. No excuses. Doesn't matter who's playing, still leading the Thunder to wins.
Yeah, I mean, they've also missed Isaiah Hartenstein for the first 15 games of the year. Caruso's missed time with injury. Like, he's had guys go out of the lineup too. And like, we hardly really talk about the Thunder this year, kind of just because, you know, they're in Oklahoma City, smaller market, but also it's because like, what else is there to talk about? They've just been fucking ramrodding everybody.
So wrapping up the case for Shai, he's having one of the best offensive seasons we've seen. Not as good as Jokic, but still extremely dominant. On the defensive side too, one of the best defensive guards in the NBA, helping lead the #1 defense in the league. And on top of that, the Thunder are having one of the best seasons in the NBA and one of the best seasons we've ever seen, with injuries to some key players.
All right, so we've gone through, made the cases for both players. Who are you taking? I know who I'm taking, and I don't think people are gonna like the answer, but I'll ask you first.
Yeah, even prepping for this video, I've gone back and forth, and maybe we should have waited another month because this race is still fluid, who knows? But right now, I have to say Jokic. I was with Shai. I was like, you know, Shai, he's the pick. He's having this great season. I want to give it to players having a great record as well, but Jokic is having the best season I think I've ever seen. Maybe 2016 Steph would still be better, but I never thought I'd see a season even comparable to 2016 Steph. I had to go Jokic. It's too good. I'm sorry. No disrespect to Shai. He is 100% deserving, but Jokic is just crazy.
I tend to agree. I mean, you said it at the end of making the case for Shai. It's like he's having one of the best seasons of all time, and he is. The only problem is he's going up against a guy who's probably having the best season of all time. And it sucks for, you know, Shai. It sucks for Embiid. It sucks for Giannis that they have to exist at the same time that this Serbian alien does. Like, it's kind of like in soccer, like, you know, Neymar and whatnot having to be in the same era as like Ronaldo and Messi. It's like, you were great, just these two are like otherworldly. So I tend to feel the same way. Like Jokic, again, I don't know how you can argue with the numbers he's put up this year. If you want to say team success, go for it, but I'm taking the Joker again. I know people probably won't like it, but it is what it is.
So we'd love to hear, who do you got? Is it Shai? Is it Jokic? Are you for some reason going to be crazy and say someone else? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving a like, and hey, while you're here, check out some of our other content as well. And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.